You. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thanks for your time here. Thanks for the invitation. I will start with introducing myself. My name is, it's really straight into my head, into my eyes, but anyway. My name is Blazewicz, and I'm the CEO and founder of SALESmanago. It's a Krakow-based company, which I set up 10 years ago. And today it's 360 people, and we are about like 25 million euro revenue, and growing 30%, annually. And this company has been built here in Krakow, thanks to, I think, a very nice Krakow community. I think this company probably would not take place in any other place. I think that's my clear view. So. I've been very lucky to actually meet a lot of very nice people here in this place, and I think it's still attracting a lot of great people. And just today, I will not be able to spend, not really much time, but the reason is that we have this town also attracted our company, and this town also attracted last year. Like serious private equity investors that put into our business like 100 million euros, and now we are kind of on the journey of taking this company from like 25 to 100 million in the next like 4 years. Right? That's the plan that we are currently trying to make happen, basically, right? So. That's kind of a brief intro. I'm not from Krakow. I'm from Tarnów, which is 80 kilometers kind of east. I studied English literature. I was actually English teacher, and came into. Then I did my second MA in business and management, and I made some internships in New York, in London, and then I came back to Krakow. And basically my first and only kind of corporate job was at Komar. I started there as intern, and then I became, like, in 3 years I became a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and then after 6 years I became a CEO of Interia portal, and then after that 2 years we exited. We sold the company. I led the sale. Quite nice story. And that's where I decided to be an entrepreneur, which I always actually really dreamt of being, right? And I don't know why, because I think that, my father, who was a taxi driver, he never told me, no, you should never get your hands dirty as I do, but I still get my hands dirty. So that's how it actually works. So I think that if the topic is failure, is obviously, I think, quite obvious that. Failure is like everything. We are humans because we make failures. So I don't think it's specifically really reserved to the fact of being an entrepreneur, right? I think that failures are things basically that makes us human. But there's obviously I think something in it, and some people like failures more, and some people like failures less, right? And I think that I'm in the first group, and I recently discovered why it happens. Well, maybe that's I discovered one of the reasons why it works in my case this way. So I read a very interesting scientific research, which shows that the dopamine system may be kind of inspired or activated by different things. It may be activated by sex, by drugs, by alcohol, by chocolate, by good food, and some people get their dopamine system activated actually by the fact that they learn, the fact that they actually get aware that something they knew yesterday was actually wrong. Yeah, and it's scientifically proven actually that. Some people actually get a lot of excitement by the fact that they learned something, right? And obviously that learning comes usually most often from failures, right? And I think I'm addicted to this. honestly. You may get addicted to failures, basically, because you just get excitement that you know the next day, you just you realize that you are in a different world. You are in a better place, basically, right? So, and I think this is how it works. How it works with me. So, I recently, actually, just to confirm, kind of this little story. I met one very nice people, like an HR person in Poland, and she said, either you win or you, I mean, you win or lose. No, you win or learn. You win or learn, exactly. Either you win or learn, right? There's no like concept of failure. It's a concept of learning, right? So that's kind of the kind of philosophical introduction. But anyway, it just happens every time, and I think that I'm in a position, and when you run a business, and I hope that we have many entrepreneurs here, I'm this kind of person that I never hear any good news, basically. Yeah, the good news basically don't get to me, right? Yeah, I'm not informed about good news, and I like it a lot because that means that the people you are, and I think that I would not be here with this company if I was not surrounded by the people that actually tell me only bad news, right? So, if you have people that tell you only good news, that means that something is going wrong, basically, right? Which is a failure. So this bad news are coming, and it's somehow then it's becoming kind of really challenging to suddenly get to the point where you can articulate. I mean, you have a lot of bad things happening around you. You have something you have to fix, and so on. And then the tricky thing is that when you go out and you speak with the people, actually, you have to be largely positive, right? Normally, when you go out to the people, I mean, you just focus on the good things, right? And so it's like pretty tricky game of really mixing this management, which is managing, fixing, improving things, learning, and then actually then being really still capable of like looking at the whole reality and finding some positives, really finding positives, right? Yeah, and to do it, and I think that to do it, and suddenly at the end of the day you have to be in a good humor, right? And so how to do it, basically, how to be wake up and be in a kind of state of sort of motivation that you're surrounded only by bad news, and suddenly you wake up and you say, I'm still kind of happy, right? So you have to basically, and this is I think who was that? One of the just a quote of the philosopher who actually explained that you have to to be in a good humor, you have to deserve it, right? And actually work on this. So my method for this is basically just taking care of myself and doing some sport, yeah, having friends, entertaining, some kind of free time in the mountains or whatever, just having some couple of other hobbies. And that's how it works, right? So I'll be happy to hear your kind of maybe questions about what you would like to ask me, and I would not like just to go out and have a kind of sort of freestyle kind of speech. Rather, would be interested to get your maybe questions, that something you are interested in that you'd like me to tell you about. Go on, guys. Come on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, I'm interested. So when was the first time you realized that you actually get this dopamine and you are happy for the failures? Because it's also kind of human being that we are afraid of failures and we try to avoid them. So I'm thinking, was it like you always had this mindset, or it was a game changer for you? Something happened in your life, you changed your approach, some circumstances, some people, some learning, some books. If you could please share.
Yeah, very interesting question. I honestly speaking, I can't remember any kind of break-even point that would lead me to this kind of thinking. I think that I was just, from the early childhood, I was surrounded by people that actually took reality very seriously, and we were never actually attracted by any kind of success stories. Yeah, that was kind of our way of, from the beginning of looking at the world. I don't think that speaking about success is any exciting. I think that what is exciting is speaking about failures, right? When you go to a party, and probably you see more people that are surrounding people that are telling stories, what happened bad, what bad happened to them, rather than people that are telling success stories, right? So it was kind of our, just kind of natural just way of looking at world. And still today, I think I'm not a big fan of just, being too much proud, right? I think that pride is excessive pride, or excessive, proudness is not facilitating basically the personal development. I think if you are just, about success, you are not growing, right? So that's, I think there's this, Romanian philosopher, Émile Cioran. Is actually, then he was treated as French because he lived in France for a long time. Émile Cioran, he was proving that the real human actually is putting and is like intentionally making failures. Otherwise, you are not a human, right? So that's how I felt. That's how I feel about it today. Any other questions? Go on.
So you said you spent some time in the States. Well, in the UK, maybe the culture of embracing the failure isn't so big, but in the States for sure. And in the States, there used to be this event where people in tech spoke about their failed business idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's hugely popular. They actually tried to organize that event in Poland, and after a few sessions, it died a natural death because no one any longer was willing to present. So my question is, how do you think we could go about changing this reluctancy of talking about failure that's sadly still very much present in Poland?
Interesting point, because I actually know a guy. His name is Jarek Łojewski, who like 5 years ago he invited me to his first kind of night, which was called Fuck Up Night. It was about like you know that event or not? Some of you know that, yeah. It was a Fuck Up Night, and he was younger, so he was using this kind of bad words. But and then he continued like very successfully over the last 5 years with like really cyclic events of that type in Warsaw, and he had like many entrepreneurs basically join him, and he, I think last year he set up a foundation out of this, which is called Instytut Dobrej Porażki, and he's still continuing that story. I would not say I would agree that people in Poland are not really that keen to speak about failures. However, I think that we are just a growing country, and people are getting rich, and so a lot of people are being excited about getting sort of up in the social ladder. So maybe that kind of discussion is not that yet. I think that is also about really this entrepreneurial kind of scene, in which is not, maybe it's still growing, it's still kind of in development phase, but I think we are not there yet, but it's definitely something that I think it's very strong. I would say when I meet with my friends, entrepreneurs, we never speak about success, right? Really, it's just all about learnings. What somebody was, what happened to one or the other person actually, which made you actually think, right? And which it was painful a little bit, right? I mean, success is like, it's not fashionable at all, honestly. Yeah.
I have a question. Greg, I would like to ask you: have you ever, within 10 years of your experience conducting the business, have you ever had the situation being at cliff in business development, yes, or maybe even in decline? now we see some downward trends overall. And my question would be, what was your decisions in those times to overcome that challenge?
It's a constant state, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur is about survival, right? It's a survival, and you know, the moment you enter the path of actually building something, right? You invest, you engage your time, you risk your family, you risk your health, right? It's really about surviving. So it's nothing. I mean, kind of times like we have today, which are obviously challenging, right? Like recession, inflation, that obviously make things like a bit difficult. But I don't think that in reality, you know, many people come to this place where like standing on the cliff, right? I think, you know, people just don't notice they suddenly get in a, you know, worse and worse position every day, and suddenly they just disappear. But I don't think it's like that dramatic. I think it happens very slowly, and you know, you are not surrounded by people that tell you, you know, what's going around. And I think that just a point, you know, about this. Some things you basically are not, you know, I have met many people that really failed because they were not surrounded by the people, or anybody would tell them that they are basically, you know, their thinking is wrong, right? Or their perception of the reality is completely outside of what's really happening. So I think that you know, I was absolutely lucky to have a couple of friends, and that we always had very open discussion, very transparent discussion, sometimes very difficult discussions, which actually makes us understand what's really going on, right? And in my career, I met a lot of people that, you know, even that were in my organization that would not basically get this idea. As I said, this perception of failure is not that obvious for all of us. And I believe that for some people that might, this kind of, if you build a business, right, and suddenly you also will meet some people that when you speak about failure, about problems, they will get, you know, extremely defensive, to the extent that you actually can't do anything, right? So as I said, that's the brain, how our brain is functioning, right? And some people have basically, you know, depends on what kind of environment, you grew up, right? Whether, you know, you know, you may see there are different parents. Like some people accept this as a kind of natural thing, and some people don't, right? And people just strive to get, you know, some sort of acceptance, right? And just they want to be loved, and so that makes it quite hard in that situations. Any other? Yeah.
So I've got a question about the types of mistakes, and just want to build up on your point on the recent ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, basically, we can say there are two types of mistakes. The first one is the easy one, because this one you try, you do what you can, and then you fail, and then you learn, right? What about the other ones, which I would call sins of omission, where you don't even know you're making a mistake until it's too late. You know?
Yeah.
These are the ones that are more devastating consequences, but because before the consequences arrive,
Mm-hmm.
You're already done. So, do you have any systems to prevent that from happening?
No, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So, and that's one of the favorite statements I have heard from this kind of new investors that I have. They constantly repeat this phrase, basically. And I mean, but you don't know what you don't know, but it means you just go ahead, right? You know, irrespective of what you don't know, basically, right? So, but it's scary. It's scary, I would say. This is scary. And yeah, on the other, if you say committing the sin of omission, right? Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Yeah. If you do it, and if we do it, you just do it kind of very consciously, and just leave it, right? But for the business, I mean, this, I think you don't know what you don't know is probably one concept, and the other concept is just really, you know, the ability to kind of constant. If you make, how many of you raise your hands? Who's running your own kind of company? Wow, good. And not, I'm not speaking about indywidualna działalność gospodarcza, of course. Just right. So it's just, you know, it's about really being open to, you know, constantly just check things, whether you invest too much time, too much money. You just, you know, you may find like hundreds ways of, you know, of just of checking out whether they're making some simple proof of concepts before you actually go ahead like full steam into one or the other direction, right? It's you know, it's very, 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 I would say, simple and straightforward. Yeah, another questions? Mm-hmm.
So going back to your HR friend who mentioned that there is only the win or learning. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's two types of learnings. One is that make you want to do things again, and one makes you not do the thing again ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, from your practice, maybe you have some examples. How do you judge a mistake or a failure as something that you should just never try to do again because it's just a failed concept, and a mistake or a failure where you still see another angle, another approach you could take to actually make it a success? Wow.
So that's big. That's a big thing. So if do we want to make the same? You know, I don't think that people want to make, you know, the same mistake again. I just don't believe. But it's I think it's just a sign of trauma.
But companies do.
I don't think so. I don't know. They just fail. They never appear again. I just heard a nice podcast recently about trauma. So trauma is a situation with something, you know, you experience something really bad, some abuse or whatever, yeah, and then suddenly you think it's your fault. You think you are guilty of doing this, and then you actually try to look for the same kind of environment or for the same relationship, and you do it again, and you do it again and again, and you find people suddenly being in the same relationship, you know, with 5 people in a row, right? It's a trauma. You should go to, you know, we really need help then, right? But if you think that you don't want to, and if you consciously think you don't want to commit that mistake again, that means you are just a healthy person, and you will never go in the same kind of situation, right? And you will find a different concept. You just don't think in this kind of guilty way. You are free of that. You have distance to this failure you made, and you're freely looking for another situation in another completely, you know, another context, right? Any other questions?
Great. I have 2 questions. First, because you are very successful about SALESmanago, so did you ever have like a proper failure?
Like a proper failure, fuck. Jesus.
The second question is, you are known in the community for big sales teams.
Once again, was.
For building big sales teams.
Uh-huh.
And what failures did you overcome to build that big sales team?
Yeah. So, starting with the easier one. Yeah, we started business as I had my co-founder. He left business 3 years ago. But we started together with Konrad, who was responsible for tech, and I was responsible for business development. And I was selling basically, and all my life was about selling basically software. I like that. I love business development, and you know, and that's probably why. I mean, and I don't people from tech, they don't like failures. I think they are mostly about success. And I think that people in business development usually you just fail, like, you know, I don't know, once per, you know, you fail 9 out of 10 cases basically. It's a absolutely natural thing. Like, you just get constantly rejected. But if you multiply that acceptance, that one case, if you can multiply that by you know, somehow by increasing activity, whatever, and then it actually starts working. So sales is usually like very simple mathematics. You have, the conversion rate. So you just need to be surrounded, and you build actually you build a team of people that believe that they are actually their understanding of being sales guys, sales people, it's kind of contradictory to what we think a good salesperson is, because I think that good salesperson is actually not something that you would see on TV, or like a kind of brilliant, kind of very, very dynamic guys. They usually, the best sales guys are very humble, very, very kind of oriented towards learning and to building like really true relationships. So I think that the building our sales team was about really finding this kind of people, right? And that means a lot of failures, because salespeople are usually very hard to discern, to make a difference at first glance when you have a conversation with them, right? This is the most tricky, I would say, the most tricky group to actually find a proper person, because like first glance, those guys are really just good at telling stories. Yeah, they are usually very charming, right? And so usually that, for me, that always meant just giving a lot of people a chance, and then finding whether they fit into your kind of really like larger into your cultural kind of cultural settings. Yeah, so that's how it worked with so with sales it was really just kind of really a game. Yeah. And I still don't know what how to choose a good salesperson, honestly speaking, right? So hopefully our head of sales knows that better than me. And in terms of the first question, did I really have a big failure? I don't know. What that would be, for example. Uh-huh.
All the matter of the scale. Probably no.
I don't know. I mean, life is a big failure. Probably the biggest one. I mean, the biggest failure is the world that we live in, right? I mean, God must have made something wrong, really wrong, right? When you look what's happening around. Yeah. This is the biggest failure. Yeah. I mean, the customers. I mean, yeah. So the customers never really make that impact, because we are, it's kind of, we have 2,000 customers, and you don't really care that much about like, I mean, each customer is living, it's pain, and then when you win a new customer, it's kind of moment of happiness, but I would say that it's not really making any, and it's not bringing any stress, but true that there's this kind of interpersonal space where, and I had a lot of pain around that, and I felt well, disappointed many times or people were disappointed with me, and you just also feel it. So I think this is the part where you should be we're actually as entrepreneurs very careful about it, and I think kind of ready to work with some people, and I think that like honestly, for me, if I want to, maybe this would be the last thing I will share today, is that I ran this business for 10 years, and it was bootstrapping, so we just like really reinvesting all the money that you have, and you hire a lot of young people, and all those hungry guys and girls, they help you run the business, and it's kind of typical founder approach where things just need to happen, and suddenly 1.5 years ago I had we had this big money from private equities, and suddenly we have money to invest in like the new leadership team, and for me that was really challenging, honestly speaking. working with this kind of new, highly experienced C-level people from different countries in the world. For entrepreneur like you know, like me, that's kind of switch to this new kind of mode of working was really difficult and very challenging. And I mean, thanks to, you know, great colleagues and support from investors, I took a coach and whatever. I was always a big I was not a big fan of coaches, whatever, but I'm a big fan right now. And because I really understood that I understood the real sense of that, and so I really tried. I think I navigated through that hard kind of times. And funny enough, we have also a kind of very small community of other entrepreneurs in Krakow, like very secret one, and we meet like regularly once per month with them, and those meetings were like so boring, honestly speaking, and they got absolutely different into a new place where once we were sitting over some dinner and discussing about some kind of very simple stuff. And I shared finally, hey, listen, guys, I have a coach. And suddenly, me too. And everybody's kind of using some help, right? Because it's so, actually, you know, it's a truism that being a CEO and founder is the most lonely role. It is. Actually, it is, right? And for me, it's just hard to, you know, take some hardcore stuff back home, and I don't want to really bother, you know, my kids or my wife with this kind of shit. You know, you need to have somebody really professionally advise you on some things or give you like support, right? So that's, you know, failures are failures, but suddenly you know, when you come to the position that, you know, you feel you need some help, right? You never be afraid to take that, you know, to use that help. And if any of you is getting to that position and you don't know what to do, just call me, right? I will try to make it. All right, thank you very much, right? Bye.